If you're over 65 and planning to renew your driver's license this year, I need you to pay close attention right now. Starting in 2025, every province in Canada has either introduced or strengthened new requirements that could affect whether you keep your driving privileges. Some of these changes could cost you hundreds of dollars in medical assessments, vision tests, and mandatory driver evaluations. But here's what most seniors don't know. There are specific steps you can take right now to protect your license and avoid unnecessary expenses. These changes aren't about taking away your independence or suggesting that seniors are unsafe drivers. In fact, statistics show that older drivers are often more cautious and follow traffic rules more carefully than younger drivers. However, provincial governments are responding to an aging population and are implementing new screening processes to ensure everyone on the road is safe, including you. The challenge is that many seniors are learning about these changes only when they show up to renew their license and are suddenly told they need additional tests, medical forms, or evaluations they didn't budget for. Some are even having their licenses temporarily suspended until they complete these requirements. That's why I'm making this video today, to make sure you're informed, prepared, and protected. Canada's population is aging rapidly. By 2030, nearly 1 in 4 Canadians will be 65 or older. This demographic shift means there are more senior drivers on the road than ever before. Provincial governments are balancing two important goals: maintaining your independence and freedom to drive while also ensuring road safety for everyone. Additionally, medical research has advanced our understanding of age-related conditions that can affect driving ability. Conditions like vision changes, slower reaction times, certain medications, and cognitive changes don't affect everyone the same way. The new regulations are attempting to identify individuals who might need support or restrictions. Here's the important part. These changes also create opportunities. Many provinces are now offering more support services, graduated licensing options, and resources to help seniors maintain their driving privileges longer. If you know how to navigate the system, you can actually benefit from these programs. Let's start on the West Coast. If you live in British Columbia and you're 80 years old or older, the changes for 2025 are significant. Previously, drivers aged 80 and over needed to complete a medical examination every 2 years. Starting in 2025, that's now required every single year. But here's what's new. BC has introduced an enhanced driver medical fitness form that includes more detailed cognitive screening questions that your doctor must complete. The cost impact. A standard medical examination for your driver's license typically costs between $80 and $150, and ICBC does not cover this expense. If you're on a fixed income, that's a new annual expense you need to budget for. Additionally, BC has expanded the drivable assessment program. If your doctor has any concerns about your driving ability based on the medical form, you may be referred for this computerized assessment. The drivable test costs approximately $250 to $300 and takes about 1 hour. If you don't pass the computerized portion, you'll need an on-road evaluation, which costs another $425. Here's what you need to do right now. If you're in BC, schedule your medical appointment at least 3 months before your license expires. This gives you time to complete any additional testing if needed. Also, ask your doctor to review all your medications before completing the form, as certain medications can trigger additional requirements. In 2025, Alberta has implemented stricter vision standards for license renewal. All drivers aged 75 and older must now pass an enhanced vision test that includes peripheral vision assessment and glare recovery testing. These weren't required in previous years. Subscribe and click the bell icon for weekly updates on Canadian senior benefits. The standard vision test at a registry office is usually included in your renewal fee, which is $84.45 for a 5-year license. However, if you don't meet the new standards, you'll be referred to an optometrist for a comprehensive vision examination report. This examination typically costs between $100 and $200 and is not covered by Alberta healthcare. Here's something many Alberta seniors don't realize. If you have certain medical conditions like diabetes, heart disease, sleep apnea, or if you've had a stroke, your doctor is now legally required to report this to Alberta Transportation. This doesn't automatically mean you'll lose your license, but it will trigger a medical review process. The medical review might require you to complete a driver medical examination report, which cost between $80 and $150. In some cases, you might be required to take a road test, which costs an additional $150. My advice for Alberta seniors: get your eyes checked by an optometrist before your renewal date. If you need new glasses or have any vision concerns, address them early. Also, have an honest conversation with your doctor about your medical conditions and how they might affect your driving. It's better to be proactive than to be surprised at renewal time. Saskatchewan has taken a different approach for 2025, focusing on graduated restrictions rather than outright license suspensions. Starting this year, drivers aged 70 and older may be issued conditional licenses based on their medical assessment. These conditions might include daylight driving only, restrictions on highway driving, or limited driving radius from your home. Here's the financial impact. The basic license renewal fee in Saskatchewan is $20. However, if you're 70 or older, you must submit a medical certificate completed by your physician. While some doctors provide this as part of your regular checkup at no extra charge, many charge between $50 and $100 for completing the detailed form required by SGI. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon for weekly updates on Canadian senior benefits. If SGI determines you need a driving assessment, you'll be referred to an occupational therapist for an evaluation. This comprehensive assessment costs approximately $400 to $600 and includes both clinical testing and an on-road evaluation. Here's what makes Saskatchewan unique. They now offer a senior driver refresher course that can help you avoid or reduce restrictions on your license. This course costs about $50 and takes 4 hours to complete. If you voluntarily take this course before any issues arise, it can strengthen your case for maintaining unrestricted driving privileges. For Saskatchewan seniors, I recommend taking the refresher course proactively, especially if you're approaching 70. It's a small investment that can save you from more expensive assessments later. Manitoba has introduced what they're calling a tiered assessment system for 2025. At age 80, all Manitoba drivers must complete an annual medical examination and vision test. The renewal fee is $45, but the medical examination costs between $75 and $125, depending on your doctor. Here's the new part for 2025. Manitoba Public Insurance has implemented a screening questionnaire that you must complete at renewal. Based on your answers about any accidents, near misses, or concerns about your driving, you may be flagged for additional testing. If flagged, you'll need to complete the drivable assessment, which costs around $275. Unlike some provinces, Manitoba offer financial assistance for lower-income seniors for this test. If your annual income is below $25,000, you may qualify for a subsidy that covers up to 75% of the assessment cost. Additionally, Manitoba now requires proof of up-to-date vaccinations for certain conditions. While this doesn't directly cost money, failing to provide documentation can delay your renewal process. My recommendation for Manitoba drivers when completing the screening questionnaire: be honest but thorough. If you've had a minor fender bender in a parking lot, explain the circumstances clearly. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for weekly updates on Canadian senior benefits. The questionnaire is looking for patterns of declining ability, not occasional minor incidents that can happen to any driver. Before we continue with Ontario and the Eastern provinces, if you're finding this information helpful, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. I release videos every week breaking down important changes that affect Canadian seniors, from health care updates to pension changes to consumer protection. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss critical information that could save you money and protect your rights. Ontario has the largest senior population in Canada, and the changes for 2025 are some of the most comprehensive in the country. Starting at age 80, Ontario drivers must renew their license every 2 years instead of every 5 years. Each renewal requires a vision test, which is included in the $90 renewal fee if done at a Service Ontario location. However, you must also participate in a group education session about senior driving, which is currently free, but takes approximately 2 hours of your time. Here's the major change for 2025. Ontario has expanded the criteria that trigger a mandatory driver examination. Previously, only specific medical conditions required reporting. Now, if you've been involved in 2 or more at-fault accidents in the past 3 years, or if you've received certain traffic violations, you'll automatically be flagged for a comprehensive driver examination. This examination includes 3 components. First, a vision assessment that goes beyond basic acuity, testing your peripheral vision, depth perception, and ability to recover from glare. Second, a written knowledge test about current traffic laws with questions specifically related to older driver safety. Third, a road test that evaluates your actual driving skills. Now let's take a look at the financial breakdown of these changes. While the group education session is free, if you fail the vision assessment, you'll need to see an eye specialist costing $150 to $250. The knowledge test is included in your renewal fee, but if you fail it twice, there's a $15 fee for each subsequent attempt. The road test costs $53.75, but here's the catch. If you fail and need a second attempt, you'll pay the full amount again. Plus, you may need to hire a driving instructor for refresher lessons, which typically cost $50 to $75 per hour. If your doctor identifies any medical concerns, you may be required to submit a driver's medical examination report. Unlike some provinces, Ontario physicians often charge separately for this detailed report, with fees ranging from $100 to $200. Ontario also introduced a new provision in 2025. If you've been diagnosed with certain cognitive conditions, you may be required to have an occupational therapy driving assessment. These specialized assessments cost between $500 and $800 and are not covered by OIP. Here's my strategy for Ontario seniors. First, attend the group education session as soon as you're eligible. Don't wait until the last minute. Second, schedule a complete eye exam with an optometrist at least 6 months before your 80th birthday or renewal date. Third, review the Ontario Driver's Handbook, especially the sections on right-of-way rules and new traffic signs, as these are common areas where seniors struggle on the knowledge test. Finally, if you're at all uncertain about your driving skills, consider taking a few refresher lessons with a certified instructor before your road test. It's much cheaper to invest in a lesson or 2 than to fail multiple road tests. Quebec has taken a medical-focused approach to their 2025 changes. Starting at age 75, all Quebec drivers must provide a medical report from their physician every 2 years. The license renewal fee is $86.90 for 2 years, which is actually one of the more reasonable rates in Canada. However, the medical report requirement has been significantly expanded for 2025. The new rapport medical pour élu renouvellement du permistic and wire form includes detailed sections on cardiovascular health. In Quebec for 2025, medical assessments are focusing heavily on diabetes management, neurological conditions, and medication review. The cost consideration. Many Quebec physicians charge between $75 and $150 to complete this comprehensive form. Additionally, if your doctor notes any concerns, you may be required to see a specialist. For example, reports from an endocrinologist or cardiologist can cost $200 to $300 each. Quebec has also expanded their on-road evaluation program through the SAQ. If concerns are identified, an evaluation to lock Hyundai automobile can cost approximately $350 to $450. Here's what's unique about Quebec. They offer a program called Evaluation Due Conductor Age. If you pass this voluntarily, it provides documentation supporting your ability for up to 3 years. The program costs about $200, but it can save you from more expensive mandatory assessments later. For Quebec seniors, my advice is to schedule your medical appointment well in advance. Quebec's healthcare system can have long wait times for specialists. The Atlantic provinces have coordinated some of their approaches for 2025, though each has unique elements. In New Brunswick, drivers aged 75 and older must renew every 2 years and provide a medical examination form from their physician. The renewal fee is $40, among the lowest in Canada, but the medical form typically costs $60 to $100 to complete. New Brunswick has introduced a new requirement for 2025. If you're prescribed 3 or more medications that can affect driving, your doctor must complete an additional medication assessment, which some physicians may charge extra for. Be sure to clarify these costs with your doctor beforehand. Attention, Atlantic Canada seniors. New driving laws in 2025 could cost you your license and hundreds of dollars if you're not prepared. In Nova Scotia, drivers aged 80 and older are now required to renew annually and complete both a vision test and medical examination. The renewal fee is $71.70 and the medical examination typically costs between $75 and $125. Nova Scotia's 2025 change focuses on vision standards with stricter requirements for peripheral vision and contrast sensitivity. If you don't meet these standards with lenses, you may need testing by an ophthalmologist costing $200 to $300. Prince Edward Island has implemented some of the most thorough changes. At age 80, PI drivers must complete a comprehensive assessment every year. This includes a medical exam, vision test, and a mandatory interview with a licensing examiner to discuss your driving habits. While the interview is free, it can result in a required road test costing $75. The standard renewal fee is $60. Newfoundland and Labrador requires drivers aged 75 and older to provide a medical certificate every 2 years. The renewal fee is $80 for 2 years, and the medical certificate costs between $70 and $100. The 2025 change in Newfoundland focuses on cognitive screening. Physicians must now complete a cognitive assessment checklist. If concerns are identified, referrals to specialists can take months and cost between $250 and $400. For Atlantic Canada seniors, access to specialists is the key challenge. Start your renewal process at least 4 to 6 months before expiry. Don't lose your independence. Subscribe and click the bell icon for weekly updates on Canadian senior benefits. Portraying Service Canada as a helpful resource is our goal. The Yukon Northwest Territories and Nunov have also updated their senior driver regulations for 2025, though with recognition of the unique challenges in these regions. All 3 territories now require drivers aged 70 and older to provide medical documentation, but they've also expanded access to telemedicine assessments, recognizing that many seniors live in remote communities without easy access to physicians. The costs are similar to the provinces, with medical examinations ranging from $75 to $150 and renewal fees between $50 and $90 depending on the territory. The territories have also introduced flexibility in testing locations, allowing some vision tests to be completed at nursing stations in remote communities and permitting road tests to be conducted on local roads rather than requiring travel to territorial capitals. Now that you understand what's changing across Canada, let me give you a practical action plan to protect your driving privileges and minimize costs. Step 1. Know your exact renewal date and mark your calendar at least 6 months before that date. This gives you ample time to complete all requirements without rushing. Step 2. Schedule a complete medical checkup with your family doctor. Be proactive and ask them to review the driver's medical form requirements for your province, even if your renewal isn't immediate. This allows you to address any health concerns before they become licensing issues. Step 3. Get a comprehensive eye examination from an optometrist. Don't just rely on the basic vision screening at renewal. If you need new glasses or have any vision issues, address them early. Step 4. Review your medications with your doctor or pharmacist. Ask specifically if any of your medications can affect driving ability. If so, discuss alternatives or timing of doses to minimize impact. Step 5. Consider taking a voluntary driver refresher course. Many provinces offer these through driving schools or senior organizations. They typically cost $50 to $100, but can significantly improve your skills and demonstrate your commitment to safe driving. Step 6. Practice defensive driving techniques. If you haven't driven in challenging conditions lately, such as highway driving, night driving, or in heavy traffic, consider practicing with a trusted family member or taking a lesson with a professional instructor. Step 7. Document everything. Keep records of all your medical appointments, vision tests, and any driving courses you complete. This documentation can be valuable if there are any questions about your fitness to drive. Step 8. Understand your appeal rights. Every province has a process to appeal licensing decisions. If your license is restricted or suspended and you believe the decision is unfair, you have the right to request a review. Knowing this process in advance can save you stress if issues arise. If you're a senior driver in Canada, you should budget between $150 and $500 every year or two for license renewal costs depending on your province and individual circumstances. This includes the renewal fee, medical examinations, vision tests, and potential additional assessments. For those on fixed incomes, this can be a significant expense. First, check if your province offers financial assistance programs for senior driver assessments. Several provinces provide subsidies for low-income seniors, but you usually have to apply for them specifically. Second, some medical clinics offer reduced fees for driver medical examinations if you're an existing patient. It's worth asking when you book your appointment. Third, consider whether the costs of maintaining your license are sustainable compared to alternative transportation options. I know this is a difficult conversation, but it's important to be realistic. In some cases, the annual cost of license maintenance plus vehicle insurance, maintenance, and fuel might exceed the cost of using taxis, ride-sharing services, or community transportation programs. Subscribe and click the bell icon for weekly updates on navigating your benefits as a Canadian senior. However, for most seniors, especially those in rural areas or smaller communities with limited public transportation, maintaining your driver's license remains essential for independence and quality of life. The costs, while increasing, are still typically less than alternative transportation options when you calculate the yearly total. Despite your best efforts, you might face restrictions on your license or even a temporary suspension while additional testing is completed. Here's what you need to know. First, license restrictions are not the same as losing your license. Common restrictions include daylight-only driving, limiting your driving radius, prohibiting highway driving, or requiring annual rather than multi-year renewals. Many seniors successfully live with these restrictions and maintain substantial independence. If you're facing a suspension pending additional testing, most provinces allow you to continue driving under specific conditions while the assessment process is underway, as long as your license hasn't actually expired. Check with your provincial licensing authority about provisional permits or temporary extensions. Second, you have appeal rights. If you disagree with a licensing decision, you can request a review or appeal. This process varies by province but generally involves submitting additional medical evidence or requesting an independent assessment. While appeals can cost additional money, They're often successful when there's legitimate disagreement about your driving ability. Third, consider occupational therapy driving assessments, even if not required. These comprehensive evaluations, while expensive at $400 to $800, provide detailed, objective evidence of your driving abilities. If you pass, this documentation can be powerful support for maintaining your license. While the goal is to maintain your driving privileges, it's also wise to be aware of alternative transportation options available to Canadian seniors. Yes, the requirements for senior driver license renewal are becoming more stringent across Canada in 2025. Yes, this means more time, effort, and money to maintain your driving privileges. But here's the important truth. These changes don't mean you're going to lose your license. The vast majority of senior drivers who prepare properly, address health concerns proactively, and follow the requirements successfully maintain their licenses well into their 80s and beyond. These regulations are designed to identify the small percentage of drivers who truly have conditions that make driving unsafe, not to remove all seniors from the road. Your driver's license represents more than just the ability to operate a vehicle. It represents independence, dignity, and freedom. That's worth fighting for, and that's worth the investment of time and resources to maintain. Many communities now offer volunteer driver programs specifically for seniors. These are often free or low-cost services provided by charitable organizations, religious groups, or community centers. Provincial and municipal transit systems increasingly offer reduced fares for seniors. In some cities, seniors ride free during off-peak hours. Ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft are now available in most Canadian cities and many smaller communities. While more expensive than driving yourself, they're often more economical than maintaining a vehicle if you only need occasional transportation. Some provinces offer special transportation programs for seniors with medical appointments. Check with your provincial health authority about medical transportation assistance programs. Before we wrap up, I want to remind you again to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. These regulatory changes affect every aspect of senior life in Canada, from healthcare to housing to finances. I'm committed to keeping you informed. Click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you never miss critical information. The key is preparation and proactivity. Don't wait until the last minute. Don't ignore health concerns. Don't skip the vision test or medical examination thinking you'll just deal with it later. The seniors who successfully navigate these changes are the ones who plan ahead and take the process seriously. Remember, your family doctor, optometrist, and provincial licensing authorities are not your enemies in this process. They want you to maintain your independence safely. Work with them. Be honest about any concerns and follow their recommendations. First, find out your exact license expire date. It's on your